Well, another Thursday night and another night of STC gaming. We're here at Donington tonight. It's rainy weather and we're in for another interesting race, I suppose. And with me tonight, as usual, my trusted cameraman Jose Estrada. Hello, Jose.
Hello, Eckhart. Hello, everybody.
And it seems like David is not available at the moment since he's on the grid because we are about to start the race here. Yes, he's already on the grid, so I suppose, Jose, we can do a rundown of the grid from the back to the front this time so that we arrive basically at the pole sitter once the race gets underway. Is that okay? Yep, it was really close one here, a bit of a technical problem, but looks like we've overcome it. Well, a few words about the track then. It's an, you all know, of course, the Donington track. We do the GP layout, which is a little over 4 kilometers long. And in the standings, we have the Roaring Pipes Maniacs at the top, the Gameracer following them, but with 16 points apart. They really have to do something tonight to keep that race open. Then it's Gubbklubben, Flying Dutchman, Flying Canadian, Black Rebels, Corse Online, Gameracer FlatOut Club scoring the first win in last race, so they advanced a lot. What of the Racing, Torrent Motorsports, Blue Flag Racing, and on the table already Sonic Racing, Portuguese team that will join us again for the next two races, for the last two races of the season. Well then, Jose, that was the fastest rundown I've ever done in my whole career, and about time to join the grid, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, Eckhart. We are already in the grid, waiting for the warm-up lap to start.
Yep, and they are already on their way, so do we follow the last guy on the grid at the moment with the camera?
Yes, it's Georgios Davakos.
Brilliant. Then let me introduce the grid to you. Starting at the back, we do have one or two new names tonight. Yeah, Georgios Davakos, already a bit of a trouble here, already in the warm-up lap. Davakos, of course, playing for Waterloo Racing here in wet Donington. One place ahead of him is James Chesters, racing for the Black Rebels in the black car indeed. Another place up, Fortunato Fiorito for the Corse Online Racing team from Italy, number 5. Then my teammate Theo De Bruyn. Seems like we didn't get the second car on the grid tonight. Should have been Michael Hart. Michael, wherever you are, why aren't you here? But it's Theo De Bruyn in 18, so that must have been a really good qualification lap. Then in 17, a completely new player here for Torrent Motorsports, John McCartney. Now that name certainly does ring a bell. And John, I know you've always get comments on your name, but I simply can't resist it. 16, Andy Roberts. That is for the Gameracer FlatOut Club. Then in 15, Harald Stadler from Austria. Mind you, we're going to beat the hell out of you Austrians tomorrow night in the European qualification match. In 15, then in 14, Bosse Jonasson. That sounds like a Gubbklubben player, and yes, indeed he is. In 13, Yuri Braham for the Flying Dutchman Racing. In position number 12, Steve Bean, who actually lives around the corner here. Donington, he says, only about an hour away, so it's really his home race. Marco Giuliato for Corse Online in 11. Position number 10, Marcin Skrzypczak for the Flying Dutchman Racing again. Then Reggie Blaine in 9 for Torrent Motorsports. In 8, we have Robin Johansson. In 7, Tyler Scurlock for the FlatOut Club Racing. Then in 6, for the Flying Canadian Racing. In 6, Marcin Skrzypczak, and we're heading out on the straight, so I have to be quick. Mikko Korkiakoski in 5, David Garcia, no, of course not. Mike Simian in 3, And Peter Duivelaar in position number 1 now, and he is the post hitter, and he is on the way. So it's Roaring Pipes Maniacs followed by 2 Gameracer FlatOut players, and then Roaring Pipes Maniacs again. Everybody, it seems, has gone through the first turns unscathed, but look at that. Duivelaar here with a huge drift into that corner, into the old hairpin, and now out of hairpin, and up the hill he goes towards McLean's. This is, I think, McLean's now. Yeah, should be. And now they're approaching Coppice, that blind turn, and already in the back we can see a little tussle there between Marcin defending against the Gameracer FlatOut Club player. They're side by side there in the back, so Jose, put the camera to 4 and 5 please, because that's where the action is. There we are, Marcin Skrzypczak in 4, and he is under extreme heavy attack here. And the attacker is none other than Robin Johansson for the Gubbklubben. Robin Johansson for Gubbklubben, Tyler Scurlock for the Flying Canadian Racing, and Ben Tusting, race winner of the last race, and somehow I slipped past him in the lineup to the grid. And Tusting fighting here against Johansson and using all of the tarmac that he can get as the 2 of them approach the very last turn of the first lap. It's Tusting on the inside, it's Johansson on the outside, and Tusting can't slip past. Great move here by Ben Tusting, and in the front there I can see that Marcin Skrzypczak had to let Tyler Scurlock pass. That is definitely not good news for the Roaring Pipes Maniacs. So already a lot of action here on the track as the players are fighting to get the power down in wet Donington. I know that in real life Donington is sunny these days, but our weather system here, which is geared to kind of an average rain for the area, tells us it's rainy this time of year in Donington. Well, that was some very hot action here in the very first lap. Already we've seen Ben Tusting involved in the fight, we've seen Johansson, we've seen Marcin Skrzypczak slipping down a place, and we've seen Tyler Scurlock advancing to position number 4. And I think that by now David should be with us with a report from the outlap and whether everything was fine this time.
Yeah, hello guys, good night.
Hello David. That looked like a little bit of trouble right at the back of the field in the outlap, but apparently as you approached the start and finish, everything was fine.
Yeah, there have been a couple of yellow flags, and there have been a couple of gaps between some cars, but at the end it was correct, so we could grant the green flag.
Okay, and Jose, how did you see that first lap? A lot of action there, wasn't there?
Yes, for a second I think there were 4 cars in parallel, you know.
Yep.
So I think that's because the rain it makes these movements more possible, as well there are different lines.
Exactly, people trying. I think especially the problem with the Doran in this weather is getting the power down as you get out of the turn. It is just so very difficult to let it slip and to let the rear actually go out. And especially I think Marcin had a bit of trouble there in 1 or 2 turns, not really getting a quick exit of the turns, and that then brought the whole pack of them on his Roaring Pipes Maniacs Doran, and he could defend against 2 of them, against Tusting and against Johansson, but he couldn't defend against Tyler Scurlock. It was just 1 too many. And now it seems that Scurlock has moved away a little from him, and everybody has basically settled down. And we're in P3 following Mikko Korkiakoski, and that of course is a well-known name here in the STC, and it means with Mike Simian, who is basically one of the best players I've ever seen here at Donington. And with Korkiakoski, it looks as if Gameracer FlatOut are really have done the all-out attack here against the Roaring Pipes Maniacs, and the Maniacs have sent Peter Duivelaar, who is also an extreme fast player, And so at the moment now we see Korkiakoski and Simian chase Duivelaar, but we know Duivelaar, you can chase him for lap after lap after lap, but he's not going to budge. He's going to give much way, and these three have settled into what I would say a very fast, very safe routine here. It's not, I think distances between them are pretty much the same as they were last lap. So, and Tyler Scurlock actually in 4 trying to catch up a little to them. What we're seeing now is that they go through the chicane and they enter that bit that was added. Chicane is called the S's, and now they're on the Shield Straight going down here towards the Melbourne hairpin. And I think I mentioned this before, this whole bit was added only so that the motorbikes, the GP bikes, would race here because they need a track of more than 4 kilometers, and with this addition the track is 4.023 kilometers, so they made it into the GP class. It's a very old track, one of the I think many players really like it. It's got these, especially the trainer curves going downhill, left, sweep right, sweep left. That's a really nice pair of turns. And then it's got McLean's and Coppice, where you can't really see the apex, so very difficult to take indeed. And yes, it's often quite rainy here. There's this brilliant footage on YouTube of Nigel Mansell doing a BTCC, I think, here, in what should have been the 80s, I think, and in heavy rain, and it was back and forth back all the time. And if you've never watched that, just type in Mansell and Donington and you'll get a play of that. It's absolutely fantastic racing there. And but no less fantastic racing here in the STCs. Dawdling a bit there, but nothing much happening at the front. So, should we have a first rundown of the grid so that the teams know whether their players actually survived the first laps and where they survived the first laps?
Okay, of course. Let's start. You do the from 1 to 5, and then I follow you from 5 to the end. Okay.
Okay, brilliant. So. Sounds clear enough. Peter Duivelaar in number 1, and this lap he actually gained a little on the flat-out players, both of them, or else in the back Skrzypczak does have some problem following Duivelaar and the others. In 2, Mike Simian. In 3, Mikko Korkiakoski for the Gameracer FlatOut. And 4, Tyler Scurlock, who has actually made up some room, some space here, and he is now closing in on the top 3 players. In 5, Marcin Skrzypczak, and he does have a very hard time indeed defending against, in 6, Ben Tusting for the Gameracer FlatOut, and he is definitely enjoying the success of winning the race at Moss last week, and that should lend him the proverbial wings here as they approach the Alpha Packs in what is it again? Coppice, turn 8, and it's especially here. I think that Marcin does have a little bit of a problem. He just doesn't come out fast enough onto the straight, where else Tusting, I think, exited that turn absolutely marvelously. Looks to me as if they're on a different and fuel strategy, the two of them. Cars look absolutely different, as though into turns and out of turns. Skrzypczak always having some trouble out of turns. Maybe Tusting runs a lot more wing, or maybe Tusting runs a much lighter car. Well, there we are then. Position 6, Ben Tusting. Position 7, Marco Giuliato for the Corse Online. They had some problems in lap number 1 at Moss. They were kicked or pushed off the track, both of their cars, both of their players, and incident penalties were handed out to the team Blue Flag and to Gubbklubben for doing that. But tonight it seems that Giuliato has had a perfect start, and there is what I would call the mother of all gaps opening behind him, because in 8 we see Harald Stadler, who has just slipped past Steve Bean, as it looks. And Stadler in 8 already, what I would say, like 10-12 seconds down to Giuliato. He's playing in the yellow Black Rebels skin tonight. And on my screen, at least, the rain has stopped.
Eckhart, about Giuliato, you know they have this skin to commemorate the 150 years of Italian unification. And,
yes, I had the good luck.
And well, today was the day they
so
celebrate in Italy. So
very special day
congratulations to them.
Yep, big congratulations from here too. Well done, Italians, staying together for 150 years. No mean feat. I mean, it's a very diverse country, isn't it? North really being absolutely different to the south there. But we have that in most of the European countries, don't we? I think Spain is pretty much different all over the place.
Absolutely. Spain is different, very different from north to south and from west to east. I mean,
yep. And you're from the north, aren't you?
Yes, I'm from the northern city in Spain.
And in the back we see the Waterblue Racing player Steve Bean already pitting in. Don't know what happened there. Maybe he got the wrong tires out of the pits. And he's already in the pits for a very, very early pit stop. Or he says, okay, it stopped raining, I'll change my wets to dries and then go on. But if you look at the spray here behind Harald Stadler, it's still quite wet on the track. Well then, position 8, Stadler. Position 9, Fortunato Fiorito. Congratulations again to Italy. And as I was saying, I had the great luck of actually fighting with one of the Corse Online players in my last outing at Most, and I followed him quite a while, really. And it looks really nice if you drive behind, if you play behind them, having the Italian flag on the back of the car. Whereas if you play behind one of the Black Rebels, you're insulted. Whatever did you put on the back of your car, Jose? It was David, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so. And
we're not going into detail here. In 10, position number 10, going through the S's right now, Bosse Jonasson for the team Gubbklubben. In 11, James Chesters for the Black Rebels in the black car. In 12, Robin Johansson, also for Gubbklubben. In 13, oh wow, somebody's really moved up here, Theo de Bruyne, my Dutch teammate. In 14, Yuri Braham, another Dutch guy, racing for Flying Dutchman Racing. In 15, Georgios Davakos, from Greece obviously, but racing for Waterblue Racing. In 16, Marcin Skrzypczak for the Flying Dutchman. In 17, there we have him, Steve Bean, who has already pitted once. In 18, Reggie Blaine going sideways here for Torrent. And in 19, Andy Roberts already a lap down. And Jose tells me we should go to position number 3, as we see all players here obviously struggling very, very, very much with the track, with the conditions. So it seems to be extremely difficult out there, very, very slippery indeed.
Guys.
And there we are in position 3, and yes, David, tell us about it.
Yeah, Tyler Scurlock, who was in P4, I think, went off track, hit a wall, and I would say his car is quite damaged.
Very bad news indeed for the Flying Canadian Racing team. And we're in P4 here with P5, P3 with Skrzypczak in 4 for the Roaring Pipes Maniacs, Mikko Korkiakoski in 3 for the Gameracer FlatOut, and it's a bit of a game race sandwich here for Skrzypczak because it's Ben Tusting still putting a lot of pressure on him here in P5, so Skrzypczak really needs all his wits about him to survive that battle, but right now he's starting an attack. Look at that, moving up to Koppis, he's on the inside, he's trying to make a move on Korkiakoski. Korkiakoski blocks the move effectively, but nothing unsportsmanlike, was just following his line, definitely right. And now Skrzypczak tries to get into upstream, but Tusting tries to get into upstream as well. Korkiakoski has moved away a little, attacked by Tusting now, he's sliding and he can keep it under control, they all can keep it under control, great racing here by all three of them, but now Skrzypczak again very close to Korkiakoski, maybe he's running an attack as they go into Melbourne hairpin, but just maybe. He is saying the touch there by Tusting, knocking a bit on the back of Skrzypczak, but nothing serious. They're out onto the back straight, and they will be in Goddard's in half a second, and there they are. Goddard's turn, round the museum actually here at Donington. race car museum, and all of them stay out. None of them pit in, none of them stay out, and they're close. They're fighting very hard, so that means that Fiorito in position number 6 is definitely closing in on them. And Skrzypczak trying to take just a slightly different line here, trying to find the gap, trying to find the way past Mikko Korkiakoski, but of course, I mean, don't know if you ever tried getting past Korkiakoski. It seems to be a very difficult task indeed, and now Tusting does have better exit here in that passage. It's basically he's stuck with glue to Skrzypczak as they approach first McLean's, they're through McLean's, and now uphill, and Skrzypczak has somehow gotten rid of Tusting's front there, and Skrzypczak now taking a very inside line, and Tusting having problems holding on to his line, and that solves the problem for Skrzypczak for the time being. Well, it was extremely close racing there by Ben Tusting and Marcin Skrzypczak. In real life, Skrzypczak cars would have been straight in the exhaust fumes, and it would have a slightly blackened front now. And David, in a position like that, do you think that Tusting actually just gave a number of little nudges to Skrzypczak?
Yeah, maybe. I really can't tell.
It just speaks for the excellence of both these two players to keep that situation under control, doesn't it?
Yeah. You have to have great skills, Eckhart.
Yep. And there they go into turn number 1 again, and look at the problems the players have, and it's starting to rain again. I hope that Waterblue player didn't switch to dries, because here's the rain again. Track will become much more wet now. Again, there's spray in most of the places here. Again, and rain's really coming down here at Donington, so David, do you suppose it's going to be one of these races where it's rain on, rain off, rain on, rain off?
Well, I don't think so. I think it will be a constant wet track, maybe with some raining time and drying time, but it will be all the time wet, I think.
Yep, I totally agree with you, especially in the rain pause that we just had. It was pretty long. It was some laps, 4 to 5 laps maybe. Still, you could see these little grey lines behind the cars indicating that there's actually a wet track that they're playing on. And Skrzypczak is definitely putting the pressure here on Korkiakoski. But out of the turns, it's just that out of the turns, and there's an overtake. Chassé, please move to 5 and 6. There's an overtake here. Tusting really having to defend against Marco Giuliato, not Fiorito. And Giuliato now on the inside, and he may just slip past. It is very, very close indeed as they approach turn number 1. Giuliato is passed actually on my screen, and he manages to make it stick. What a fantastic move there by Marco Giuliato. That was perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, we're talking... what waterproof, yes, especially in these conditions. We're talking about overtaking last race's winners, so that really is absolutely great move here by Marco Giuliato. Really well done. And it looks as if Corse Online are finally hitting their stride here. They didn't really have a good season up to now, and we're hoping for a podium actually for the Corse Online, and it may be well within their reach. In position number 5 now, Marco is, and with Tusting having huge problems in the turns, and Giuliato taking definitely a cleaner line than Ben, he may definitely make it stick here.
By the way, guys, we have already some action at pit. We have right now Andy Roberts, and we had already Tyler Scurlock, which car was damaged. He pit out at position 13. Now he recovered 1 position, and we had also Harald Stadler from the Black Rebels and Steve Bean from
Waterblue Race.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, he was the first one in. He was really, really early. And there's another Waterblue car, and there's already 2 cars now in. That's Scurlock still, I think, being repaired.
Yeah, it's
and
Steve.
It might be Davakos.
No, Eckhart. It's Steve Bean again, and Reggie
Steve Bean again.
Yeah.
Oh dear. And it's lapping time. We see Skrzypczak approaching Theo de Bruyn. Two orange cars here, one from the Netherlands, one played by a Dutch player.
Ouch!
And
Ouch!
big
Nice.
ouch? Where's the big ouch?
Yeah, it was John McCartney hitting one of the Gubbklubben cars, and it was a lap. He was a lap down already.
Oh, ouch indeed for John McCartney there. And I just saw my teammate Theo de Bruyn going off, but he's recovering now. That was in McLean's as he was trying to make room for Skrzypczak and apparently hit an extremely wet spot on the track. And Skrzypczak now is under attack by Marco Giuliato. And oh, look at that, Giuliato there. If he'd been able to put the power down there, he could have slipped past. And they are now, both of them, approaching Melbourne hairpin.
Guys.
And they're on the back straight. Yes, David.
Yes, we have Georgios Davakos and John McCartney at pit. And now I see a flat-out racing car pitting in. I think it is, Mike Simian.
Alright, and we have Giuliato in 3, up in 3. He's on a podium position because he made a fantastic move there in the last turn in Goddard's. My goodness, Giuliato really is on the run here. He's up in 3, it's only Duivelaar and it's only Korkiakoski before, in front of him. And look at the amount of track already between him and Skrzypczak. I mean, he's just moved past in the last turn, and we're now in turn 3 or 4. And he's out on the grass now, but it doesn't really stop him at all. And Skrzypczak does have a very hard time indeed following him. So somebody at Corse Online has come up with the magic setup for rain.
Aren't you a bit surprised, guys, about the early pit stops from everybody? Because I was expecting, you know, on that wet conditions, normally the tire life is longer.
Yeah, I suppose they were all out on the wrong tires.
Yeah, maybe.
Hoping for, you know, that the rain would stop pretty quickly and then the dries would be fine, and now they may be back. And it might also explain why Giuliato is having such a blast here, because if he had started on different tires, and with the track now really very, very wet indeed, there's a constant spray behind the cars all around the track, he may be having a huge advantage. He's now currently overtaking or lapping one of the Black Rebel players, and we see lots of action on the pits. Basically everybody's in. Duivelaar is in.
Yeah, exactly. Peter Duivelaar, Yuri Braham and Tyler Scurlock again.
And that puts Giuliato in 2, and I tell you what, he's the only guy out on rain tires, is what I would say. Pity we don't have the rims as in the Formula 1, where you can actually see what tires the players are on.
Yeah. Okay,
yes,
Ben
but
Tusting at pit.
I think maybe Korkiakoski is also in wets.
Yeah, might explain why he was having such a hard time just trying to stay in front of Skrzypczak, because usually I would say these two players are definitely on a par, and it looked that today Skrzypczak was really faster.
Whoa! It's Marcin being overtaken by a flying Dutchman racing car. It was a lap down, but it was very easy for him to overtake Marcin. I can't be sure if Marcin is on the right tires.
Oh no, let's hope he pushed the right button in the right place there at the right time. Still with Mark Giuliato, and it was a very clean lap indeed that we've just seen done by him. And let's see if he pits in, or let's see if he actually steps into position number 1 as maybe race leader. And yes, indeed, Giuliato into the pits. So that means he, I presume, was also not on wets. And that leaves only Korkiakoski out. Only Korkiakoski, I think, of the whole field, not having done a single pit stop. And I wonder if that is the right strategy. Maybe right now in this lap he is handing over the race to Marco Giuliato. Let's stick with Korkiakoski and let's see what happens at the end of this lap.
I have some good information, Eckart. Mikko's fastest lap was lap 7. We are already on lap 17, and his latest lap was 5 seconds more or less slower than his best lap. But
oh dear.
I am checking Marcin lap times as well, and Marcin lap times are really worse than Mikko's lap times.
At the moment?
At the moment, yes. He's on 40. And same
oh
for
dear.
Peter Duivelaar. It's 140, 137. So, can't tell you what's going on really.
Oh dear, well, we're all left to wonder here, and we're all watching now what happens to Mikko Korkiakoski. He's approaching the last turn now, Goddard's, and I wonder if we see him coming into the pits. He's taking a very careful line, and yes, indeed,
yes.
There he is. Now, let's see where he comes out. Let's switch to Giuliato, actually, and let's see if Giuliato comes out ahead of Korkiakoski, or let's switch to Marcin Skrzypczak. Skrzypczak will definitely move past him. I'm pretty sure of that. No, Skrzypczak goes into the pits again. And you are right, David. It must have been the wrong tires then. And that means that Mike Simian will take over the lead here at Donington. Mike Simian was in position number 4, is now in position number 2, and is now, I think, leading the race. No, he's not. Sorry guys, we're all getting a little bit confused here. Jose, I hope the camera is moving the same way that I'm moving, because I'm on my screen is Peter Duivelaar, who came out on top of everybody else in this situation, and he is now comfortably, absolutely comfortably in the lead in position number 1, where he started out in the first place.
Yeah, I think these are the 2 RPM cars stopped. I think maybe they just made one stop each. I mean,
Guys,
I don't think. Yes, David.
Fortunato is at pit again.
Again?
Yeah, again. I would say.
And Duivelaar here really pushing very, very hard to cash in on the advantage that obviously the pit stops have brought to him, because he is a very long way away from... Oh, and now he's overshot the Adelaide Haypen. He's a very long way away from Mike Simian. He is an easy race leader. David, you do have access to live timing. What's the difference in seconds between Duivelaar and Simian at this stage?
It's 8 seconds. And
8 seconds.
Yes, and it's 12 seconds from Mike Simian to Mikko.
Well, that's what I call a spread-out lead group. And yes, we can just see Mike Simian in the back there. We just saw him there. So it's basically the start and finish straight. That's what 8 seconds is worth here at Donington. It's basically the start and finish straight between Simian and Duivelaar. So whatever happened at the pits, whatever the strategies of the teams here, Duivelaar definitely played his cards right, put the cards on the table at the right time, the right place, and he came out in the lead. He went in the lead, and he came out in the lead. And whatever happened to Corse Online player Marco Giuliato, he was up to the podium, and don't know where he is at the moment.
It's in P3.
P3, but because something happened to Mikko. I would say Mikko made a mistake or went out of the track, because he was P4 1 lap ago. He was P4 with a gap of 2 seconds behind Mikko, and now he's P3 with Ben Tusting P4, 8 seconds behind, and Mikko is P5, and he's like 12 seconds behind Marco.
That definitely looks like an off moment for Mikko Korkiakoski. It must have been the first of the whole season. Don't think I ever remember that fellow off the track. And so lots of action here at Donington, and we see skies already turning a lighter blue, and the rain is down to a mere drizzle. But the track is still very, very wet indeed. And I would say from the visuals that the distance between Duivelaar and Simian stayed exactly the same all through this lap. Guys, how about a rundown of the field at this point, and this time really to see where everybody came out after the pit stops. I'm especially concerned about Tyler Scurlock, where he ended up after that crash and the pit, and also Marcin Skrzypczak going into the pits twice, obviously, wherever he came out.
Yes, Eckhart, I think it's a good idea. Let's show how the positions are now after the storm.
Yep, after the first round of stops. Let's be quick about it. And there we start with Peter Duivelaar, race leader for the Roaring Pipes Maniacs, and on his way to a whole full load of points. Then into Mike Simian for the Gameracer FlatOut, chasing the Roaring Pipes Maniacs as they do in the overall standings. Position number 3, and there we have him, Marco Giuliato, maybe on his way for the first podium of the season on a special day for Italy for the team Corse Online Racing. Position number 4, Ben Tusting, winner of the last meeting at Most a week ago, and another very strong showing by him here at Donington. Mikko Korkiakoski in 5, and if he had an off moment just 2 laps ago, it doesn't really show on the car. That Doran looks spick and span to me. Yes, David.
Peter Duivelaar at pit.
At pit again. Now this is strange indeed.
And the Steve Bean from Waterloo Racing.
Then in 6, Marcin Skrzypczak.
Maybe they are going to change tires for dry?
Well,
I don't know.
The forecast says rain and wet, but maybe. Peter is pitting out position 6, just in front of Marcin. Position
should
5.
Be 5 then. Yeah, should be 5 then, because Skrzypczak is in 6 now. That's odd. That's really very odd, and we'll come back to that later because we're on our way down the grid. In 7, James Chesters, fantastic race for him here in Black Rebels Doran. If I look at the lineup, well, he definitely wasn't in the top 10. He was way down the grid in 17, and now he's moved up to 7. Fantastic. In 8, sorry. In 9, Fortunato Fiorito, second of the Corse Online players. And let's have a quick look at where he was. He was in 16 in the lineup, so he's another player who really won out in that first round of hectic pit stops.
Yeah, it's also possible a lot of people made a mistake were choosing the cars because choosing the tires because the pit stop setups they had. Maybe they all had the dry tires as default and they made a mistake.
No, I don't think so.
Why? You never know in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, but I mean, there are a lot of cars beating constantly. I think maybe the tire wear on the wets are. I mean, it is the first race of the season with real rain and a real wet track. Possibly they are not expecting that tire wear. Maybe.
I'd have to disagree because the big teams, they all have the servers up, and they all obviously, because once the weather was out 2 or 3 days ago, they must have done some training on wets, and if they really start calling it a day after 5 or 6 or 7 laps, then they should have noticed that.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big guessing game here. It makes for some fantastic action on the track because there's lots of things going on. We're still with number 9, and we're still in the rundown. Position number 10. Yuri Braham for the Flying Dutchman Racing. Started the race in 12, so a bit of improvement for him too. Position 11, Tyler Scurlock, who was up in position number 3 earlier on, started the race in 5 and is now on his way back up the grid. It looks as if the mechanics have really repaired the whole Doran here. It looks absolutely completely correct to me, and that must have taken ages in the pit. Position number 12, Reggie Blaine, first of the Torrent Motorsports players.
Nice.
And he does have a really banged up car. Yes, David.
Eckhart, it's your teammate, Theo De Bruyn and Andy Roberts from FlatOut Club at pit.
Okie dokie. I really have no clue what strategy Theo was following. I didn't check the forum just before the start of the race, but well, hope it's the right strategy, Theo, and hope you're doing everything right, battling it out there in rainy virtual Donington. Position 12, Reggie Blaine going sideways here in Koppes, and then position 13, Bosse Jonasson. Now the Gubbklubbens did a position number 2 in the last race, and tonight it's not their night, definitely. Bosse Jonasson down in 13 from a start in 13, so he definitely did not change position. But let's see where the other guy is. Marcin Skrzypczak in 14, and he's right now being lapped by one of the Roaring Pipes Maniacs players, and that Waterblue Racing car is still a lap down to Skrzypczak. Then in 15, Steve Bean, our Donington local hero, and being chased by a Torrent Motorsports car, who, however, is a lap down or a lap up, I think a lap down. And Stevie Bean here now approaching that famous Koppes and the track. Yes, it's still wet, even though there is no longer any rain. Track is definitely still wet, but it must be awfully slippery because basically everybody does have trouble getting out of the turns here.
Well,
and,
anyway, Eckhart,
yeah.
the forecast says damp right now, not wet. So maybe
okay.
This is the reason why we are seeing all that pit stops. I mean, the Black Rebels cars have been 3 times at pit, at least.
3 times?
Yes, and same goes for the other teams. So something we don't know is going on, and I would say it is not related to the tire decision or the tire wear. I mean, they have some information we don't have.
Obviously. I'm being a big Shakespeare fan. All I can say is something is rotten in the state of, well, not Denmark in this case, but Donington. And there's something going on here, but it makes for interesting broadcast, certainly. And 15 now, we're still in our rundown. Steve Bean, and then down to 16, Harald Stadler from Austria in the yellow Black Rebels car. And exiting here, turn number 1, and now going into that flowing, really nice combination called the Craner curves. Very difficult to get your breakpoint at exactly this point here for the old hairpin, and then speeding out of the old hairpin because car wants to go to different places in that place, at least for me. 17, Georgios Davakos of the Waterblue Racing. He was the last guy, well, sorry, second to last guy on the grid, so he moved up 1 or 2 positions already at Donington, and he's followed very closely by Andy Roberts. This is about the only real fight for position on the whole grid here, 17 and 18. Andy Roberts, I think, is in turn followed by oh, that's a blocking maneuver here by Davakos. Let's stay with these two for just a moment, because Andy Roberts looks all set and ready to overtake Georgios. Davakos really taking a defensive line here, or else Roberts has a very good exit through the old hairpin, but he may be able to make a move once these two approach Koppes. Let's have a look. Oh, Davakos running a bit wide here, touched there by Roberts, and now they're uphill towards Koppes, but no, Davakos stays in front. But Roberts will try to line him up before the S's. He's trying to get into the slipstream here out of Koppes, and he definitely is well within the slipstream. He moves all across the right-hand side. Davakos moving, running a bit wide in the S's, having a difficult exit here, and Roberts touching him in the back, but cannot take advantage of that extra speed he has. And while the two are fighting, that Gubbklubben player is approaching from the back. And Roberts now taking a very, very, very tight line in Adelaide, but it doesn't help. Davakos still stays in front. And I think he's hoping for Davakos to run wide a little under pressure. And there it is, Davakos running wide, just as I was saying. And on the exit of the last turn, Roberts squeezes past. Davakos has to relinquish position number 17, sorry, he's down to 18. And then in 19 we have Theo de Bruyn of the Black Rebels, and running wide there as well, so it seems to be very difficult indeed under these conditions to find your correct breakpoint. And that beautiful blue flag car is already dented at the front. Don't know what the rate at the moment is on our forum for banged up cars, but Theo, you're liable to pay. And then we have John McCartney in position 20. He was involved in some argy-bargy situation a little earlier on. And I don't know if he's the last player on the grid, but I think we're still with all the players here. So there should be a player in 21. Half a second. No, we're 20
me.
still. It's you in 21, yes, David. I just noticed that too. So 20, we've lost one player. I honestly have no idea whom, but we'll find out.
Eckhart, I don't know if you did notice, you said Theo de Bruyn is racing for the Black Rebels.
Did I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's, I think, the second or third time I mixed up our teams. It must be because you're racing together with him in that BMW Cup.
Yeah.
And you formed that new team there. What's it called again?
Yeah, it's the Black Flags. Anyway,
the Black Flags.
We are preparing an offer to bring Theo to the Black Rebels next season.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. And talking of dare, there's another rain front approaching Donington, and it's starting to rain in serious here again. And I wonder if we see another batch of pit stops as players realize that tracks are going to be much more wet again.
Whoa,
we're in P1 with Duivelaar. And with Simian, my mistake, with Simian. And in 2 we have Giuliato, but the real action is in 3, 4, 5. Because there we have Ben Tusting in 3, Duivelaar after his pit stop in 4, and Korkiakoski in 5. This means that Duivelaar has already slipped past Korkiakoski as we moved down the grid to give everybody some airtime. And it means that Duivelaar is all set and ready to get past Ben Tusting. They're approaching a lapped... touch there with a lapped Gubbklubben car. And very bad luck indeed for Tusting. The Gubbklubben player obviously looking for a good breakpoint in the wet, moved just a little to the side, and that was where Tusting was. And I think they then crashed again in the sand, in the sandy parts, did they?
It was Bosse Jonasson, Eckhart.
Oh dear, bad luck there for Bosse Jonasson and Ben Tusting involved in that crash as well. And Tusting down to 5, well, he was in 5, but down a long way now, and that obviously takes some of the pressure away from Peter Duivelaar, because now he does have some open road in front, and Korkiakoski, whom he managed to get past earlier on, does not seem in a position right now to be able to follow him. That puts Duivelaar in 3 again, and it means solid points for the Roaring Pipes Maniacs, the championship leaders, but it's Simian in front, so many more points here for Gameracer FlatOut tonight. But, well, it's still a long race here at rainy and surprising Donington, and then these players will be sweated through at the end of the game, I can tell you guys, because it still seems just a hassle to get that Doran through a single turn, like the last turn here. Goddard's. I can see the Dorans all over the place, with players obviously having to correct their lines halfway through the turn plenty of times. And we'll stick with P3 for the time being. And because this is where the action is, Duivelaar and Korkiakoski trying to catch up. And look at the technique of these two. Just sliding into the turns, just actually throwing the Doring into the turn, and then basically hoping that at the exit, the Doring is where you want it to be.
Yeah.
Honestly, I could never do that. Never in my whole life. I just simply don't trust the Doring enough for that.
Yeah, same here. There's too much power, Eckhart.
Yep.
For what I see in the background, Eckhart looks like Ben Tusting car is, well, a bit damaged in the front because of the impact, but he's not losing time. I mean,
no,
he's on the same lap times.
Yep, gap is the same, and Korkiakoski actually is making some headway here, clawing his way back into Duivelaar's slipstream. And Duivelaar has to take just a slightly defensive line as they go into Goddard's. And they have, I think, Tyler Scurlock right in front of them. And Duivelaar is sliding out of Goddard's here, but obviously that wasn't what he wanted at that point. And Korkiakoski setting up a move as they go into P1. Nope. Very wisely staying behind, but it looks as if Korkiakoski is just a little faster at this point in the race.
Yeah, it looks like it. I am following Marcin as well, and
which position?
He's position 6, but he's having problems with the car tonight. He's not on the top of the race pace.
Okay. They both slip past that flying Canadian racing player here. Just a little advantage there for Duivelaar. But that advantage is gone as he messes up Koppes big time, having huge problems just keeping the Doran on the track. And speaking of advantage, it's the flying Canadian racing car taking advantage of the combined slipstream of positions number 3 and 4 here. And bad exit there for Duivelaar. Gets on the grass and doesn't grab the power down, but he stays on the inside. I wonder if, and he's trying to stay on the inside, and ouch, that hurt a lot. And now that flying Canadian car is exactly where Korkiakoski wanted to go. He must be really, well, I was going to say a dirty word here, but he must be really not very happy about that move. But nothing that flying Canadian player could do there. He was just following his line, and the situation in front wasn't totally clear what was going on. And then Duivelaar, they're very, 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 very late on the break and managed to defend against Korkiakoski. But it just goes to show, and here comes an axe attack. Korkiakoski now on the inside. And that was very close again.
Yeah.
Very close again. Korkiakoski, he's looking for alternative lines, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And it is not an easy place to put pressure on the car in front, I would say.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
By the way, Eka, don't you think that this battle is being a good thing for Marco?
It certainly has, because he should be slipping away with the two of them really going at it full throttle here. And don't know about the lap times, but they should suffer, I would say, by about half a second every lap if you're in a battle like this.
I will tell you first. I will tell you something. Marco Giuliato's gap with Mike Simian, like 5 laps ago, was 8, even 9 seconds. Now it is 4 seconds and a half.
Ooh, that guy is on a fly. And here comes the attack. Watch it. Korkiakoski nudging Duivelaar a little. It's payback time, Peter. And Peter goes off the track, and all these other... And Tusting slips past, and Duivelaar can't get the power down because it's that Torrent Motorsports car there in the way. And, well, what can these guys do? They are in a race too, they are on their line too, and that Doran is really difficult to control under these conditions. And you can't just simply vanish into thin air, but Duivelaar must feel about the same as Korkiakoski felt a lap before. He has lost 2 positions in one turn there, touched by Korkiakoski. Duivelaar out on the grass, and then just as he tried to get back on the track, it was a Torrent Motorsports player and that flying Canadian player as well. And they both... No, it's both Torrent players, isn't it? It's 2 Torrent players, both of them getting into... And Tusting is off! There's so much action going on here. That was, I think, Ben Tusting off the track, and he's very, very, very slow indeed. No, it was not Tusting. Sorry, it was Andy Roberts. Ooh, breathe a sigh of relief. Everybody at Gameracer FlatOut Club. Von Glan was messing up big time. No. The friendly voice here. Making a big mistake. It was Andy Roberts, and it looks as if Andy Roberts is out of the race.
Okay, Eckhart, I have some more information.
Yeah, bring it on, David.
The latest Mike Simian laps have been 135, 136, 135 and 135. When Marco's last laps have been 35, 35, 34 and 34. So we can say pretty sure that Marco is being faster. The gap is now on 3 seconds and a half, more or less, and in maybe 4 laps we will see them together.
Very, very impressive, and I'm just at the timing table myself, and the gap to Korkiakoski then is 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of them together, Korkiakoski, Tusting, Duivelaar, and then another gap of 20 seconds to Marcin Skrzypczak, so he is definitely out of the race for the top 5, but he's wise just to stay to his space because Fiorito down in 7 is another 20 seconds away from him, so he's basically in no man's land.
Yeah, exactly. And anyhow, it will be a very good result for the Corse Online.
Yep, whatever happens. And Andy Roberts, let me tell you, is still in the race, and he has just overtaken my teammate, Theo de Bruyne, for position number 19, coming from 20, so he was in serious trouble, but all the Gameracer FlatOut Club fans out there, he is still with us, he is still in the race. And
this has been a crazy race. You know, Tyler Scurlock have been out in the gravel and with a very big impact in the car and at pit at least 3 times. And look at him. Look the fight he's handling right now, Eckhart.
He does have a very big fighter's heart indeed, Tyler Scurlock has. And Braveheart, we should call him in this series, but now he's out on the grass. Oh, and he just squeezes in before Yuri Braham, in front of Yuri Braham, but Braham is on the inside now as they run into Coppice, and Braham manages to take advantage of Scurlock's small mistake there, but Tyler is definitely smelled blood here, and he is hot on the trail of Yuri Braham. By the way, these are the 2 last cars within the lead lap. So everybody else from here on down is already a lap down. And we only have 30 minutes to go in this race. Time's actually flying by at STC. I thought, I was just checking the times table, I thought we have something like 50 minutes to go. I was quite surprised to see we're already with only 32 minutes of the game up. And but the pitting, the frenzy at pit, it has stopped a little, hasn't it, David?
Yeah. Definitely.
I wonder
what
happened with the tires. I'm really curious.
Yes,
we'll wait for the interviews. And here's Tyler Scurlock trying to make a move on the outside. Braham taking a very clean line here. At the same time, blocking Tyler Scurlock. Very well done, Yuri. Very innocent. And there they go, down the Craner curves. And Scurlock looking for a way past, but Braham... And now Scurlock is much faster out of the Craner curves, much faster. Little knock here, little knock there, saying, Yuri, I want to get past. But Yuri Braham stays on his line, very relaxed. And we can see the race leader, Mike Simian, and Marco Giuliato approaching there in the back.
By the way, Eckhart.
Yes.
Do you know at race department there is a guy very well known for everybody called Gary Lennon?
Yep, know the guy.
I think we should invite him at to race STC with any of the teams, because I would be really curious to see Lennon racing against McCartney. Don't you?
Laugh of the day, laugh of the day should be in one team, shouldn't they? I wonder if McCartney actually has the gear stick on the other side.
Yeah.
And they go into pits, both of them go into pits. We're making jokes about Lennon McCartney, and the race still goes on, and both Braham and Tyler Scurlock go into the pits.
But we have Mike Simian and Marco Giuliato at pit as well, Eckhart.
Oh, so
and they are they pit in with less than a tenth of a second. The nose of Marco's car was touching the back of Mike Simian's car.
And of course we follow that drama at the pits here with our cameras. And let's see who gets out first.
Marco is pitting out.
Oh, Marco pitting out, and he's overtaking Mike Simian. Simian has a very long pit stop, a very, very, very long pit stop, decidedly much longer than Marco Giuliato. They're both down some positions. Somebody slipped past. I would say it's Tusting and Duivelaar who did. But Giuliato seems to be the new race leader. He seems to be in the lead now, and it seems to be that little Italian miracle, winning an STC race on the 150th birthday of Italy, sporting the Italian flag at the back of their Corse Online cars. It seems to be that this Italian miracle is within reach of Marco Giuliato, as he is out of the pits in position number 3. He does have, who's in the yellow car? It's Mr. Stadler. He does have some problems now defending against that Black Rebels player, because he still has fresh tires, and quite obviously they're not up to the task. And Giuliato definitely is, because he let Stadler pass, but he now must re-lap him. This is all playing into the hands of Mike Simian, who's watching this from behind and saying, ha 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 ha. And now we have a Flying Dutchman car passing him as well. Don't know if it's Kreinbrink. And look at Simian, how close he is because of these unlapping maneuvers there.
But Eckhart, what's going wrong with Marco's tires? Because
I don't know.
He's a bit out of pace at this first lap.
Totally off the pace in his first lap, but maybe they need a lap to really get warm here. And Simian, and he goes into the pits again.
Yeah,
oh no,
wrong tires.
Disaster for Giuliato. He picked the wrong tires, obviously. He just barely survived the lap. Oh no! Do you know any swear words in Italian?
Jose should.
Jose, give us a swear word in Italian.
But
loud and clear, so all the Italian guys can feel it.
No. It's child.
Okay, keeping the STC airwaves clear here.
Yeah.
And it's Korkiakoski. Korkiakoski has been in the pits as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, but
exiting the pits.
He pit out a bit before Marco. But really bad luck for him. Really bad luck.
Leading the race for all of one lap. How frustrating is that? And it's Peter Duivelaar back in position number 1. Peter Duivelaar, but we honestly, folks, we really have no clue whether he is about to pit, has just pitted, will pit, maybe pit, should pit. I don't know, I can run the whole gamut of English expressions here. The game is wide open, and with about 25 minutes of the race to come, let's see what Duivelaar is doing here. He's taking, and he is into the pits. It's the same game again. Duivelaar into the pits for what looks like the last time here, and that should put Mike Simian back into the lead.
Yeah, and Ben Tusting possibly at P2.
Yeah, 1-2 for Gameracer FlatOut is in the making. They could just pull it off. Mike Simian back in 1. Oh, but Korkiakoski is a long way away. It might Duivelaar might just make it. Jose, are we with Peter Duivelaar in the pits? We should, because he's exiting the pits now, and Ben Tusting is rushing down the start and finish straight, and he has just now slipped past. And Korkiakoski also slips past. Duivelaar comes out in position number 4. So we should have Duivelaar now in 4 and Skrzypczak in 5. Not a bad result for the Roaring Pipes Maniacs, but obviously not what they want. So there we are, following position number 2. Following number 1 actually now, Mike Simian. And in 2 you just saw Ben Tusting. So that is a great result again for the Gameracer FlatOut Club. While in the back we saw one of the Black Rebel cars going off the track there. It wasn't Stadler, so must have been the other Black Rebels player tonight. And that is, let me just check. Mr. Chesters? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, here goes Mike Simian. Out of the Craner. Yeah, very nice lines here by Simian. Fully in control, master of Donington. I think he's won a couple of games already here at Donington for the STC. We didn't do Donington last season, but we did it a couple of times before. It was always rainy.
Yeah.
It used to rain, I think, in UK.
Yeah,
well,
right now there's a huge high pressure zone over the UK, and it's very, very, very sunny indeed. Sunny here in north of Germany as well.
No,
and how about weather in Spain?
It never...
Never, well, I bet you it is. Steve Bean just posted on the forum just before the race that it was very sunny indeed, and he was arguing about the weather system.
Yeah, no, but that's not possible. It's never dry in UK. It always rains.
No, never in Donington at STC. No, let's make this a rule.
No, I think
I'm really curious for these interviews about the tires. Yeah, sorry, what was it you were just going to say? Sorry, I interrupted somebody.
I was going to say that I think it's our 5th season with this weather system, but still a lot of people doesn't know how it works, and they go to the real forecasts.
Yep, we keep getting complaints on the forum about, well, it's very sunny here in Hamilton at the moment, what's the problem? And guys, it's a prefixed system, and it does the weather on random, but it uses data of, I think, the last 10 or so years, and so it's basically the random weather at this time of year in Donington.
It's kind of... It calculates the probability of rain at this time of the year in a certain place, and then it's random, considering if it's 20% possibility of rain, there is a 20% of possibilities you have rain in the race when you generate the weather.
Yep, I think it works perfectly. It really adds a huge dimension of realism to sim racing if you have a system like that in place, because we also have the nice tire mod with the super soft hards and rain tires. We don't have an intermediate, do we? There's nothing like an intermediate for weather where the track is just damp, is there?
No, not this season. We had it in the past.
Yep, I do remember that. And so, talking of seasons, season is almost coming to a close here. Only 2 more races. We have a 2-week gap now to the race in, let's have a look, Le Mans, so a classic down the road. And then we have a season finish in Spa on the 30th, so at the end of the month. It will be 1 more race in the middle of the month, and then 1 at the end of the month to finish the season off. A first little guess at the outcome of the season with a very strong showing tonight. Gameracer FlatOut Club should be able to close the gap considerably to the Roaring Pipes Maniacs. What do you two think? Will it be another Gameracer FlatOut Club result, or will the Roaring Pipes Maniacs be the champions this season? And while I'm talking away about the next season, we have this season really a full battle here between Peter Duivelaar for the Roaring Pipes Maniacs, at the moment leading the table, and Mikko Korkiakoski for Gameracer FlatOut. Racing, and we will definitely see an attack. And they have been to this place before. They know the turn, and this time it's Duivelaar, and he's overshooting. Oh, we hardly ever see that by Peter. He is so good on the brake, but this time, for once, he missed out on his brake point, and he's taking Adelaide not exactly the way you should. But now, look at that! Mikko Korkiakoski is being held up by his junior team, by one of the players from Gameracer FlatOut Club. I think it is Andy Roberts, I'm not quite sure. And this brings Duivelaar back into a position to attack Korkiakoski at least at the end of this lap, if not maybe earlier. I'm having a wild guess now. I tell you what, watch the entrance to Koppis, because that is a place that Duivelaar definitely likes. Look at that, look how he slams the door in here into the Craner turns, into the Craner curves, and now they're approaching Old Hairpin. Korkiakoski going sideways a little here, and I bet you Duivelaar is going to have a superb exit. There it is, they run up to Koppis, as I said. Duivelaar on the outside trying to squeeze past, but he can't make it, and now he touches Korkiakoski. Ouch! Ooh! Very close racing indeed, and now he does have a clean exit. He has a very clean exit out of that turn, but Korkiakoski is on the right side for the assist. He squeezes, just squeezes in front of Duivelaar.
This is close racing.
Oh, this is close racing indeed. There's not a hair's breadth between them, and Korkiakoski making the mother of all defensive moves, zigzagging across the course. And Duivelaar now should take it very tight indeed, but he can, because Korkiakoski's car is definitely in the way. Ooh, that was superb gameplay by both of these. Absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, it was. You have been talking a while ago, Eckhart, about the Doran
prediction.
Power
Yep.
when exiting the corner, but what about the brakes? I think that this is very important when we talk about overtaking.
Oh, there he goes, sorry,
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
Attacked by Duivelaar down the Craner curves, and he's passed. He's made it past, and just so, wow, what a place to attack. I think Korkiakoski was completely taken by surprise. I mean, nobody's doing an attack there between turn 1 and 2. Never seen it. And Korkiakoski, obviously taken by surprise there by Peter Duivelaar, is down to 4. Duivelaar is up to 3, so for the overall standings, that is good news indeed for the Roaring Pipes Maniacs. Somebody from Waterloo Racing gets out of the way nicely here, and making room now nicely for Mr. Korkiakoski as well. And Duivelaar in 3. Whoa, yes, talking about the brakes. Does this car have brakes, I wonder? Because if I play it, and it feels like there's pretty little.
Yeah, I think it has a hole in the ground. It is like the Flintstones kind of brakes, you know.
Yeah, certainly feels like it. Oh, and Duivelaar with problems coming out of Adelaide. That should give Korkiakoski a bit of leeway. And cameraman tells me there's a huge battle going on in P89. We are moving there. And it's a fight we've seen before. It's Yuri Braham against Tyler Scurlock. And though Tyler was definitely on the move up the grid, Yuri Braham seems to have, well, grabbed his chance, and he is staying close to Tyler Scurlock. Managed to somehow make it stick, and I would have suspected Scurlock to be at least a couple of turns away by now, but Yuri's fighting back. He's definitely not going to let Tyler Scurlock escape him so easily. They're running up to Theo de Bruyne. Still in the race for Blue Flag Racing, not for the Black Rebels. Oh, it's a black car though. And also playing for the Black Flags, as we have learned in the broadcast. So that kind of shows here. And Scurlock is past Theo de Bruyne, and his Dutch compatriot is unfortunately getting a bit in the way there of Yuri Braham. Yes, please.
I feel the need of telling you something. It's Marco Giuliato is the fastest guy on the track again.
Yep.
He said his fastest lap a couple of laps ago, and his gap with Mikko is only 4 seconds, and it is around 9 seconds with Peter, so he could be fighting for the podium in a little while.
I suspect so, and let me tell you another thing, weather-wise, it's starting to rain again.
Oh.
Yes, but I don't think... I think they all are with wet tires already, right?
The track has been wet all the way through, as David predicted.
Yes, it was damp in a few moments.
Yep.
But
That wasn't for very long though, was it? So really, I think but let's wait for the interviews. Let's wait for what the players are actually saying, what they did, what happened to them. And Yuri Braham, at the moment, catching up to Tyler Scurlock, and he might be able to make a move.
Mikko
accident in P14 with Steve Bean.
Yeah, but yeah, it was involving Mikko, Jose, isn't it?
Yes, but it
Because
seems
now
Mikko is okay too.
Yeah, but look at that. Marco is right behind Mikko already, so he lost a bit of a time.
Yeah, this is the battle of the race at the moment. Korkiakoski against Giuliato. And we only have about 15 minutes to go in this race. And while we watch these two, let me give you an update of the gaps. It's Mike Simian in 1, and then 29 seconds down, Ben Tusting, and only 1/10 of a second behind Peter Duivelaar. So there is a huge battle there as well. Then in 4 and 5, Korkiakoski, Giuliato in 37-38. And Marcin Skrzypczak, still in no man's land, and Fortunato Fiorito in 7, Braham in 8, Scurlock in 9. So Braham, while we were away, slipped past. We don't know where to go, folks. This is so exciting.
P2, Eckhart.
I will. Is the camera in P2? That is the big question.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, and that is another attack by Peter Duivelaar. We saw him doing crazy things in Adelaide all through the race, and let's see how Ben Tusting can defend against Peter, the raging Dutchman here. And he's taking the inside, and that was a classic. Peter, absolutely well done, but no, the slide may cost him the turn. He's trying to give a little nudge to Ben Tusting. He's trying to stay in front, and he is a sportsman. He stays. That was a very gentleman move by Peter Duivelaar there. He's not closing the door on Ben Tusting, but he's rather staying on the outside, but now he is very close indeed. Well, yeah, what a race. We don't know where to put the camera, folks. And
whoa.
He's on the grass. How did that happen? It must have been a wee little nudge by Ben Tusting. Just a little nudge. But that sense, Duivelaar must have caught him on the wrong foot, so to speak. And Tusting was basically just sticking to his line. No move by him there towards Duivelaar, at least as far as I could see.
I agree.
A lapped Gubbklubben car slipped past as well. And so Duivelaar should be should take him a little while to catch up. And sorry, Mike Simian, we don't show your fantastic drive in position number 1, because well, this is where the action is. Fight for 2 and 3, podium fight, and then fight for 4 and 5. Behind that, between Korkiakoski and Marco Giuliato, and then fight for 8 and 9 between Yuri Braham, who's just slipped past Tyler Scurlock, as I said, and the self-same Tyler Scurlock in 9. And still very many cars in the game. We have hardly lost anyone here tonight, so players, and it's heavy rain now. I've seen the first of the lightnings on my screen, so a bit of a thunderstorm here at the moment. So we're doing the very last rundown of the race because the battles in the front, all the players are a bit apart. We're with Marcin Skrzypczak in 6, who is about to lap a Waterloo player, I think Steve Bean. Then Fortunato Fiorito in 7, and this is really a quick rundown now. Yuri Braham in 8. Attacked right now by Tyler Scurlock in 9. We're going to take this attack. Scurlock wisely stays behind. In 10, Robin Johansson, after an interesting race for him. And we just saw Duivelaar slipping past, actually, as we were with Robin Johansson. So Duivelaar is through to 2. Marcin Kreinbrink in 11. Reggie Blaine for the Torrent Motorsports in 12. That's the white Torrent car. James Chesters for the Black Rebels in 13. Steve Bean, local hero, in 14. Mightily banged up water blue car there. 15, Harald Stadler for the Black Rebels. 16, Bosse Jonasson, definitely not his night tonight. Out again in the S's. 17, Georgios Davakos for the Waterloo Racing. 18, Theo de Bruyn for the Blue Flags. 19, Andy Roberts for the Gameracer FlatOut Club, and that is the last car on the grid. No, it isn't. John McCartney in the black Torrent Motorsports car. Sorry, John. John McCartney, and not John Lennon in 20. For the Torrent Motorsports, but that is then the last car on the grid. So we've only lost Ethan Bass somewhere down the line. And let's see where we put the camera. Yes, David.
When you made the rundown, was Peter already on P2?
I saw him slip past as we were focusing whoever it was. Yes, Bosse Jonasson, I think.
Okay,
and he slipped past just as the camera was following Jonasson. We just saw it, at least it was on my screen, I just saw it in the back. And he has made a very clean pass indeed, and he is now already a good 150 meters away from Mikko Korkiakoski, so no chance, from Ben Tusting, so no chance at all for Ben to fight back. He will have to make do with position number 3. But Korkiakoski is closing in, actually, on Tusting, and Marco Giuliato has obviously, maybe put a little bit too much stress on the tires, because he can't close the gap to Korkiakoski at all at the moment.
Okay.
So I think, Jose, with most of the battles a bit over at the moment, let's give Mike Simian some airtime. And we're not with Mike Simian, we're with P8 and 9. Sorry, Mike, you don't get the airtime you deserve tonight, because you're not where the action is, I'm afraid. And the action is here with Tyler Scurlock and Yuri Braham. Into turn 1 they go. And Braham on the grass, but he can keep it under control. But that cost him Tyler Scurlock is very close indeed. That cost him the 10th of a second. That brings Scurlock well within striking distance. And Braham here fighting for his life. And I mean, remember, this is a fight for 8 and 9, and then they go at it as if this was not only for 1 and 2, but also for the overall series, isn't it? And they're virtually teammates. I mean, they're as close as the Gameracer FlatOut and the Gameracer FlatOut Club. They share the same homepage. They obviously share the same setup and race preparation here for the games. And so this is teammates fighting, but they're putting on a fantastic show here at virtual Donington. And David, just to get the information out to our viewers, do you have access to the watch and can tell us how much more time do we have?
It is, I will tell you, Kurt, 6 minutes and a half.
6 minutes and a half comes down to 4 laps then.
Yeah, more or less.
give or take half a lap. With Simian in front, with Duivelaar in 2, Tusting in 3, Korkiakoski in 4, Marco Giuliato in 5, Marcin Skrzypczak in 6, second of the Corse Online players in 7, that is Fortunato Fiorito. And he is just in front of these two, so really it's a battle of 7, 8 and 9, with Yuri Braham in 8 and Tyler Scurlock in 9. It's a fantastic race coming to its finish here in Donington. And first summary of the race. Maybe David or maybe Jose, I don't really care. Either of you two guys out there in Spain, your impression of this race at Donington?
Well, I think it was really chaotic at the beginning with all the pit stops and the tire changes. We don't exactly know why. Then the second part of the race was, well, what is expected in wet weather, with some mistakes, some attacks on the limit. Quite interesting, but I mean normal race in these conditions. I'm really curious about the first part, because I don't understand why the drivers made so many pit stops.
Thanks, Jose. And David, your take of the race here with only 2 or 3 laps to go, and Braham still defending against Scurlock for all it's worth.
Yeah, well, for me, as Jose said, have been an amazing race, very chaotic start, and as you guys, I am curious to know what happened on that first half of the race. Anyhow, it have been, in my opinion, one of the best races we have seen ever at STC, with all that position changes and fights and. By the way, sorry, I will interrupt myself because I was following Mikko and Marco, and they are very close. We should go there, guys.
Okie dokie.
It has been an amazing race, and really want to see the broadcast replay.
Yep. Oh yes, and they are very close indeed, and now Marco is sliding.
Oh.
No, Marco, don't do it at this point in the race. You're so close, but you only have 2 laps to catch Mikko Korkiakoski. And I mean, catching Korkiakoski is the one thing, but getting past Korkiakoski is quite another cup of tea, I would say. Marco, and there's a player off. That's blue flag player, James Chesters it was. Obviously making way for Mikko Korkiakoski, storming from behind. Yes, please.
You are switching teams, mate. You want to come to the Black Rebels with
this
us?
time. I'm sorry. we should really consider making this one team, because we're so close anyway.
yeah, I agree. Okay, we will negotiate.
We will. I will maybe team up with Dariusz Spiderski in the Richard Burns tournament then.
Okay.
And we have now a battle for P7, 8 and 9. They are very close.
Yep, race direction tells me it might be 2 laps from now. And Giuliato, indeed, he was so close a lap ago, and now he really has to struggle to get back into a position where he can make a move on Mikko Korkiakoski. Korkiakoski down the start and finish straight forward, maybe the last time. And we're following P7, sorry, cameraman just tells me you're in the wrong place. And yes, this is some action here, because they have overtaken Fortunato Fiorito, and they're overtaking Fortunato Fiorito again. Oh my goodness, he loses 2 positions in 1 lap. Not Fortunato at all, because if my Italian, well, I don't really have any Italian, but should be the lucky one, Fortunato, if my Latin is correct. And
yes,
that
yes,
wasn't fortunate at all. Fortunato loses 2 positions, very unfortunate move, and now it's up to Theo De Bruyne to let these guys past
guys,
again here. And his Dutch compatriot is past, and he closes the door just ever so slightly because he does have to take trainer turns one way or the other. He now has Scurlock behind, and he's letting him slip past. Well done, Theo. Scurlock is past, but yes, please.
Yeah, we are on last lap already.
Last lap already, so we should go back to position number 1. Should say, even if this is close fights all over the place, because we really need to see the race leader going across the start and finish line. And there we are, Mike Simian. Mike, the secret master of Donington, taking yet another win at this British track here, located in northwest Leicestershire. To be quite precise, it sits atop the boundary between two English counties. Parts of the track are in one county, parts of the track in another one. Anyway, here goes Mike Simian through Adelaide for the last time, coming up behind the pits now. You can see the pit trucks there on the back of the image, and now approaching the very, very, very last turn. Round Goddards he goes, and he will flash his headlights in half a second to notify everyone that here he is as he goes across the start and finish line, and it's a great victory for Gameracer FlatOut as they take position number 1. And up comes Peter Duivelaar for position number 2. So we have the two top teams taking 1 and 2. It's not a 1-2 for FlatOut, it's a 1 for FlatOut, 2 for the Roaring Pipes Maniacs. And in comes Korkiakoski in 3. Look at that. Ben Tusting falling back one place. Korkiakoski must have slipped past one place or the other, and a decisive move there by... Oh, that was a bit too fast by Marco Giuliato.
It was.
We've seen, and he lets Tusting regain the position. He is a gentleman. He's crawling down the start and finish line. He's wondering where Tusting is. He's wondering whether Tusting will regain. And up comes Tusting, just as Tusting is back. Ooh, Giuliato, you are a real gentleman, Marco. He lets Ben Tusting regain the position, comes into 5. It was a very, very bold move there by... And there's a lot of action as we switch to 7, 8 and 9. There's an overtaking maneuver, and that lets Tyler Scurlock lose position number 7. That was a lapping maneuver, sorry. And that means Yuri Braham is passed. Braham in 7. And Fortunato Fiorito has some problems there in the back as well, lapping one of the Black Rebel cars. And Tyler Scurlock in 8, Fortunato Fiorito in 9. What a hectic end to the race here at Donington. Robin Johansson in 9 and Marcin Skrzypczak in 10. That's your top 10 for you, and about time, I would say, for the national anthem of Great Britain. And with us now in the booth is Mike Simian, who won the race here at Donington. Mike Simian, huge congratulations from me. And tell us a little bit, especially about the first half hour.
Oh, well, that was probably the hardest part. I was on slicks then. I saw in warm-up that the weather was getting a bit drier, so I went for slicks at the start. It was a bit slippy, but managed to keep it together. But Peter was just pulling away, so hats off. He was much faster in those conditions.
Okay, so then we saw a lot of hectic moves into the pits, out of the pits, back into the pits. What was going on with the tires there?
Well, because the weather was starting to rain and it was then stopping raining, and so what I did was I just stayed out as long as I could, wait for the weather to sort of settle down a bit. And luckily for me, I just made all the right pit stops at the right time and was on the right tyres at the right time, so it worked out great.
And what exactly were those right tyres? Was it wets or was it dries?
Yeah, it was dries for the first stint and then wets all the way. The wets were lasting even when it was drying up, so wasn't losing too much time. But yeah, it was better safe than sorry to have the wets on, so I just stuck on wets for both last stints.
Brilliant. So you made all the right moves in all the right places, actually, and finished on top. Well done, Mike. Brilliant win tonight for you. And there was a whole lot of action further down the grid. With us now is second placed Peter Duivelaar of the Roaring Pipes Maniacs. First of all, congratulations, Peter.
Thank you.
And you had a huge battle with Mikko Korkiakoski, especially in the Adelaide hairpin. There was a lot of action there, wasn't there?
Yes, there was a lot of action there, also because the racing line was completely dry, but off the racing line it was very wet, so at the inside there's almost no grip, so it was quite hectic racing there.
And it was back and forth, but how about your pit stops? Mike just told us he only pitted, I think, twice, and just the pit stops he wanted to do. Did you just do the average pit stops, or did you have to go in more often because you made a mistake with the tires?
Yes, I made a mistake at the first half hour when it started to rain heavily. I went to the wet tires, but 5 minutes later or so I had to switch back again to the soft tires, so that's definitely where I lost it today.
Ooh, too bad. But nothing you can do. It's Great Britain. There's a lot of rain there, as in the Netherlands. So, Mikko Korkiakoski. Thank you, Peter, for the moment. Mikko Korkiakoski, you finished the race in 3, and there was some hectic action going on in the last 2 and 3 laps with Marco Giuliato and with Ben Tusting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I wouldn't say there was any action. Well, Marco was catching me quite quickly, and I couldn't really keep the pace up. So I was thinking that I can basically catch Ben, and then then we had a little team order moment. I asked Ben to yield his position and for me to take P3 basically. So. Nothing really dramatic, just race going on, people catching people, and some team orders that are actually allowed. So, yeah, that's about it.
Okay, and there was also some lap players there involved in the very last lap, wasn't there?
Well, not the last lap, yeah, but a few laps in the end. I just. It seemed like I caught everybody, and guys going off the track came back on the track just in front of me, and it's not really easy to know what the guy in front of you is doing. You're trying to go flat out of a corner and in the wet with low downforce, like I was on a wrong setup anyway. But yeah, they swerved in front of me, and I was going left, and I thought, okay, he's going left, okay, I go right. And he goes right, and couldn't know where for me to go, and I hit some guys, and was quite pissed off for a few seconds. But then I remembered, hey, I gotta finish the race, and it's not too easy to drive in these conditions. So I just tried to go back to the relaxed state, but it was really difficult.
Yep, And we saw lots of action all the way through the grid. There are lots of fights there, also for 7, 8, and 9. So all three of you, you're all members of the two top teams. Well, it's another very close finish. Who will come out on top? The FlatOut or the Roaring Pipes Maniacs?
Do you even have to ask? Come on.
Come on, say it.
Well, yeah, you know, FlatOut, of course.
Well, I'm not going to say it, but I'm looking forward to the fight that's going to be in the last 2 rounds. So may the best team win.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's gonna be close. It's gonna be really close.
Peter, jump in.
Yes, I totally agree. May the best team win, and it's again going to be a very exciting battle in the final 2 races, so it will be very exciting.
All right, and as we said during the broadcast, the gap of 2 weeks now until we meet again at Le Mans in France, and then it's up to Spa in another 2 weeks' time, so we have 2 more races to go. Well, that was it for the broadcast tonight, STC. Huge thanks again to Race Control, to David Garcia. Thank you very much, David.
Thanks to you, Egart, as usual. Thanks for everybody involved in the race, and Jose, of course, for his camera work and taking care of everything.
Thanks to you guys, and see you next round.
Yeah, see you next round. This wraps up another Thursday night of STC Racing. As David said, one of the best ever, and I hope we have pretty much the same amount of action at Le Mans in 2 weeks' time. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. This is goodbye. Bye-bye.